Today we're going to discuss one person and his impact on Game 3 and why he was able to have this impact on Game 3. The person we are discussing is none other than Christian Braun. Christian Braun had much higher minutes in Game 2 and Game 3. We're going to discuss why Christian Braun benefits Denver so well, in particular benefits Jokic and Murray and the other scoring options. So the first thing to discuss is where did the Christian Braun minutes come from? So Denver played much less of their bench, which is essentially Green, Bruce Brown, and Christian Braun were their three go-to rotation players. And in Game 1, they played him very little. Game 2, they played him more. In Game 3, they played them the most. The majority of these minutes came from Michael Porter Jr. is what I found. So Michael Porter Jr. went from 43 minutes in Game 1 to 26 in Game 2 to 21 in Game 3. So then the question is, why did they trade those minutes? So we need to discuss what the difference is between Michael Porter Jr. and Christian Braun in particular. So for one, Michael Porter Jr. is much more of an offensive threat. Shoots 41% from 3, shoots drives pretty well, is definitely an offensive-minded player. On the other hand, Christian Braun is a defensive-minded player. He only shoots 35% from 3, definitely isn't as explosive or as much of a driver, but plays very good defense. And so then ultimately, this benefits Denver because, as we've discussed a couple times, Denver is going to score points very effectively. They have a tremendous offense. The real issue is whether Miami was able to keep up with them, and in Game 2 they were able to keep up with them, and in Game 3 they were not, partially because of the emphasis on defense by playing players like Christian Braun. So let's look at some of the examples for why Christian Braun, I think, provides such a value on defense and rebounding and more awareness type possessions. So the first example of what Christian Braun provides to Denver is he fits into the system that Denver has already. So Denver is an explosive offense, maybe the best offense in the league, but one of them for sure. And a lot of that's driven because of one man, Nikola Jokic. So Nikola Jokic creates opportunities for his teammates unbelievably well. So especially when Miami's in this zone, the moment they look inside to Jokic, there are going to be opportunities to cut, and Christian Braun does that excellently. It's important to note that Christian Braun doesn't necessarily create offense for himself or create offense for others even particularly well, but what he does do is he thrives when others create a little bit of an advantage, especially when Miami voluntarily doubles here. He cuts into open space unbelievably well, which creates opportunities for him and for Denver. If, let's say, in Game 4, Miami goes away from the zone, which I doubt they will, it's possible we'll see less Christian Braun minutes, but even regardless of that, having someone like Nikola Jokic that can pass the way he does and can see the floor the way he does allows for these kinds of opportunities even in their normal man-to-man offense. Okay, so as soon as the defense looks into Jokic, Christian Braun cuts into space, and because he's going downhill and the defense is reacting to him and he's an explosive athlete, he's going to win that battle 95% of the time. So now moving on to where I think Christian Braun has the biggest impact, and that's on defense. So the first thing is he's a very versatile defender. Not only can he guard like Bam Adebayo when they switch a couple times, Duncan Robinson when he comes off screen, but he's also at least competent against Jimmy Butler. While it's probably advantageous for Jimmy in this situation, forcing Butler into a contested mid-range step-back jumper, that's probably a win for the Denver defense in this lineup. Another area Braun provides value is on situational awareness on the defensive side of things. Okay, so this is actually going to end with a missed shot from Denver, but this is an example of Christian Braun limiting Miami's potential value on offense. Okay, so right here, a quick outlet to Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry's great in transition, looks to push the ball ahead. So not only does Christian Braun, but all of Denver's getting back very, very well. Okay, but Christian Braun does such a good job going stride for stride with Kyle Lowry with a full head of steam and cutting him off and limiting any potential offense that would have happened from Miami in transition. This is value for just creating a net lower expected outcome for Miami just because he stopped any potential points that could have been scored in transition. And then what I think the best example of him on defense is this clip right here. So he's going to start off on Martin. The first thing, we're going to see a down screen come from Bam Adebayo. Braun fights through to make sure they don't have any open looks, okay? Prevents any good looks. The guard-to-guards are able to switch this screen, so now Braun is on the ball. Again, with this ball screen without a bio, he does a good job pursuing over the top. Jokic does a good job preventing any layups originally, but then Braun does a good job hustling and getting back. And then on this drive, when he gets past Bruce Braun, right, Christian is able to cut him off and force a contested floater instead of having a good layup or potentially a lob over the top to Adebayo. That's tremendous defense by Christian Braun. So in conclusion, Christian Braun provides a great fit with Denver because of his ability to play off of the more creative players, the more offense-centric players. He creates opportunities for himself based on those cuts and those opportunities. Not only this, but his main value is provided on defense, where he's able to limit Miami's potential points and they're ultimately guard different players and be so versatile on the defensive side of things and having great spatial awareness. So because of these things, Christian Braun, I think, is going to get even more minutes in Game 4, potentially have great effect on limiting Miami's opportunities for the rest of this series.